Michael and good morning everyone. So today we are going to discuss about the humoral immune response, okay, or humoral immunity or antibody mediated immunity. Okay, but first things first, please subscribe to the channel, right, so that you get notifications on any new videos I uploaded, right? Especially goes to the SEM 1 and SEM 2 students. Alright, now humoral immune response, also known as antibody mediated immunity. Okay, so this humoral immune response is the branch of adaptive immunity that involves the activation of B cells. Okay, it involves activation of B cells, and that leads to the production of antibodies, which in turn defend the body against bacteria and viruses, especially in the body fluids. Okay, now this is the basic definition of the humoral immune response. Now from this definition, right, the antibodies that produced by the plasma cells are activated B cells, right? These B cells, once they are activated, they are known as plasma cells, right? Other name for plasma cells, all right, are effector cells. So when you come, or if you come across the word effector cells, it is being referred to the plasma cells. And as you know, these plasma cells, they are the activated B cells, right? So only plasma cells or effector cells, right, produce antibodies. Okay, and these antibodies, as you have learned before, all right, there are 5 antigen antibody interactions, right? So that they where these antibodies go to, right? These antibodies that produced by these plasma cells will go around those antigen antibody interactions when this antibody come across antigen or bacteria as well as other pathogens. Okay, so again from here, the antibodies produced by the plasma cells or effector cells cause the destruction of extracellular microorganisms and prevent the spread of intracellular infections. Now, as what I've mentioned in our Google Meet previously, okay, to make things simple, all right, these pathogens, when they enter your body, right, they will move around, lingering around, all right, or travel in your body fluids. That includes your bloodstream. Now, in this state, those pathogens are known as extracellular microorganisms. Now, some of these extracellular microorganisms, they tend to stay in your body fluids, and some of these extracellular microorganisms might enter or infect your body cells. All right, these extracellular microorganisms, right, that infects your body cells, right, when they enter your body cells, they are known as the intracellular microorganisms. So obviously intracellular microorganisms will cause intracellular infections, right? One of the common intracellular microorganisms are viruses that causes flu, right? Ataupun sekarang musim pandemik COVID-19 kan? Yes, COVID-19, all right, is an example of intracellular microorganism which will cause intracellular infections. Okay, intracellular infections ni ialah sel badan yang sudah infected. Right, now this humoral immune response defends the body, blood and lymph, right, your body fluids, against extracellular pathogens such as bacteria, parasites and fungi. Okay, viruses, they are intracellular pathogens, but viruses, when it first enters your body fluids, right, they are extracellular microorganisms. Okay, so these viruses that enters your body, that are still in your body fluid, when it come across antibodies, okay, those viruses will be either agglutinated, opsonized, all right, or neutralized, or complement system. Do you still recall the 5 antigen antibody interactions? But once these viruses enters your body cell, it will infect your body cells. When it infect your body cells, humoral immune response are not effective against them anymore. Right? So humoral immune response hanya efektif against extracellular pathogens, okay, or extracellular microorganisms. Apa beza extracellular microorganisms dengan extracellular pathogens? Sama sebenarnya. Beza dia ialah, right, extracellular microorganisms ni ialah microorganisms yang berada di dalam body fluid kamu. Tapi microorganisms ni ada yang baik, ada yang tak baik. Betul kan? Yang tak baik tu menyebabkan disease or infections. Microorganisms yang tak baik inilah yang kita refer kepada pathogens. Right? I hope that clear things up. Okay, antibodies have no effect on viruses or other intracellular pathogens once they enter the body cell. Since antibodies are not able to penetrate the plasma membrane of the body cell. Antibodies ni dia tak boleh masuk ke dalam body cell kamu. Dia hanya di luar saja. That's why dia tidak efektif against intracellular pathogens. Okay. Antibodies are effective against viruses mostly during protection. Okay, where an immune individual can neutralize the virus based on a previous exposure. Seperti yang cikgu cakap tadi lah. Kalau virus tu masih dalam kamu punya body fluid, yes, your antibody are effective against them. Okay, provided there is an initial exposure before. Okay. Now, this humoral immune response involve B cell, helper T cell, and antigen presenting cell. Like in the previous video, I mentioned already. Okay. The types of the examples of antigen presenting cells are macrophage and dendritic cell, as well as your B cell also. Okay, your B cell also can become an APC, an antigen presenting cell. Okay. Now, always remember dalam humoral immune response, cytotoxic T cell is not involved here. Right? Okay, for your level, it's sufficient for you to know that the humoral immune response involves B cell, helper T cell, and antigen presenting cells. Now, in this humoral immune response, the B cells produce the antibodies that circulate in your body fluids. Right? So every time when you tell yourself, oh, I have antibodies, meaning to say you have an active humoral immune response or antibody-mediated immunity. Okay, now this humoral immune response does not respond to transplants, right? And then does not provide immunity against cancer. Cancer are normal cells that somehow they undergoes mitosis uncontrollably. So meaning to say that particular cells are sort of like being infected because they are able to divide by mitosis in a non-controlled manner. Okay, seperti dia saja. Itu adalah cancer. And these cancers are not, right, included in the humoral immune response. Okay. Alright, now let's go into the mechanism of the humoral immune response. Now, before I start, there are two things here you need to know. Alright. For this humoral immune response to to be successful, Right? To be successful means at the end of this mechanism, antibodies are being produced. All right? So, for that thing to happen, the B cell, as you can see in this diagram, this B cell must be activated. For this B cell to be activated, this helper T cell must be activated. Now, in order for this helper T cell to be activated, all right, this helper T cell must bind with an APC. Okay, you get that? Let me rephrase. Okay, now in this humoral immune response, okay, an APC must activate an helper T cell, right? And then this helper T cell must activate the B cell. When the B cell is already activated, then only you get antibodies. Right? Now, let's go into this mechanism. Okay, tengok bagian atas ni dulu. Alright, so first things first, bacteria or pathogens. Now, class, in the exam, if the question reads, okay, a bacteria enters a body, scan. Okay, discuss the immunity that takes place in that body. If a bacteria enters a body, a bacteria, so kamu mesti mention yang bacteria itu invade the body. Right? If the question says a pathogen enters the body or invade a body, so your essay should start with pathogen instead. Right? So first things first, bacteria, right, that invade the body is engulfed by macrophage. Right? Engulfed by macrophage, or you can write by an APC or antigen presenting cell. Okay, because it's understood. When you say a bacteria is engulfed by an APC, meaning to say you are referring to either macrophage or dendritic cell. Okay, and as well the B cell. It depends how you write your sentence. Now, so let's go back here. So bacteria that invade the body is engulfed by macrophage. Okay, now B cell independently combines with foreign antigens on surface of pathogen. But B cell is not active until stimulated by the helper T cell. So meaning to say, alright, so meaning to say, in the humoral immune response, an APC will engulf the invading bacteria. Okay, at the same time, a B cell, alright, B cell also, okay, combine or bind, alright, bind, B-I-N-D, bind with the foreign antigens of the bacteria. You get that? An APC engulf, right, the invading bacteria, and at the same time, okay, B cell bind with the antigen on the surface of the bacteria. Okay, same bacteria A contohnya. So APC ini dia engulf bacteria A, dan di kawasan yang sama juga atau mungkin kawasan berlainan. Okay, B cell ni pula dia bind dengan antigen di permukaan bacteria A itu. Right, bacteria A ni bila masuk badan kamu ada banyak bacteria A. Okay, ada berjuta-juta. Okay. Now, the APC, alright, will display antigen class 2 MHC complex on its surface. After an APC engulf bacteria or pathogen, that APC will display antigen class 2 MHC complex on its surface. You get that? Right? After an APC or macrophage engulf pathogen or bacteria, the APC will display the antigen class 2 MHC complex on its surface. Alright? Next, helper T cell, right? Helper T cell, this helper T cell here, helper T cell receptors, you can see the receptors here, will combine or bind with the antigen class 2 MHC complex on the APC. Okay, helper T cell is activated. You get that? Or you want me to rephrase? Helper T cell is activated when the helper T cell bind with the antigen class 2 MHC complex on APC. Okay. Next, bila helper T cells sudah activated, okay, lepas dia bind dengan antigen class 2 MHC complex di APC ini, cell signaling will take place, okay, via cytokines that is being secreted by both cells. So meaning to say, selepas helper T cell bind dengan antigen class 2 MHC complex di APC ini, cell signaling akan take place, di mana helper T cell ini secrete cytokines kepada APC, APC pun secrete cytokines kepada helper T cells. Alright, now cytokines is very general. To be more specific, this APC, okay, this APC will secrete interleukin 1. Okay, interleukin 1 to the helper T cell, and then this helper T cell will secrete interleukin 2. Okay, interleukin 2. That interleukin 2 will activate the B cell. Okay, now class, let me refresh the cell signaling. I think there's a bit, I need to further clarify here. Now, class, in cell signaling here, what happens? Okay, this helper T cell secretes interleukin 1 to the APC. The APC also secretes interleukin 1 to the helper T cell. Boleh faham? Okay, itu ialah cell signaling ini. Helper T cell secretes interleukin 1 to the APC. APC secretes interleukin 1 to the helper T cell. Now, at the same time, this helper T cell secretes interleukin 2 to the B cell. The B cell that earlier already bind with the antigen of the pathogen. Okay, so the interleukin 2 activates B cells. Activated B cells, right, will increase in size and divide by mitosis, then proliferate. Okay, you can say other word for proliferate is clonal expansion. So after the B cells undergoes clonal expansion, okay, the B cells will differentiate into plasma cells and memory B cells. Right, like what I mentioned earlier, other name for plasma cells are effector cells. Now, these plasma cells secrete antibodies, okay, and these antibodies will be transported to the lymph and blood, okay, all the way to the infected site to destroy the pathogen. All right, destroy the pathogen via the antigen-antibody interactions. So the antibodies will combine with antigens on the pathogen surface, forming the antigen-antibody complex. And from here, the pathogen is destroyed. Okay. If you recall, one example of antigen-antibody complex interaction is opsonization, where the pathogen is being marked with the antibody, where antibody attached to the surface of the pathogen. Right? The purpose is so that other macrophage able to identify that particular marked pathogen, and then that macrophage will engulf that marked pathogen. Now, these memory B cells, right, they are used for rapid response towards secondary infection. That's why in secondary, during secondary infection, right, the synthesis or production of antibodies are very fast, very rapid. Okay, why? Because these memory B cells, when they encounter the same pathogen, what happens? These memory B cells will straight away secrete antibodies. It doesn't need to go this sequence anymore. No need. Ini bye-bye. Ini hanya dalam primary infection saja. First time exposure of your immune system with that particular pathogen. Okay. Second time exposure tak payah. Straight away memory B cells secrete antibodies. Okay. So that is about the humoral immune response. Now, the earlier this mechanism, if you found it to be difficult, okay, there is another view for that. Right? Ini mungkin lebih ringkas lah. Alright. So after an antigen presenting cell engulfs and degrades a pathogen, okay, you can refer to this diagram here. The antigen presenting cell will display an antigen fragment complex with a class 2 MHC molecule on its surface. Okay, so this is the antigen class 2 MHC complex, right, which will bind with the antigen receptor of the helper T cell, and from here the helper T cell will be activated and cell signaling will take place where the helper T cell secretes interleukin 1 to the APC, APC secretes interleukin 1 to the helper T cell, and then the helper T cell also secretes interleukin 2 to the B cell. So a helper T cell that recognizes the complex is activated with the aid of cytokines secreted from the antigen presenting cell. Okay, so when a B cell with receptors for the same epitope internalizes the antigen, okay, the B cell displays an antigen fragment on the cell surface in a complex with a class 2 MHC molecule. So meaning to say B cell ini untuk B cell activated, right, the same like earlier. This B cell mesti ada dua syarat. First, B cell mesti bind dengan antigen itu, right? Mesti bind dengan antigen. When the B cell binds with the antigen, the B cell will display the antigen class 2 MHC complex on the surface of the B cell. That's why B cell ni pun dikenali sebagai APC, because it is able to display the antigen class 2 MHC complex on its surface. The same goes for the dendritic cell and macrophage. Alright. Now, syarat yang kedua, yang B cell ni selepas dia sudah display antigen MHC class 2, antigen class 2 MHC complex di surface dia, this B cell must receive cytokines or interleukin 2 from the activated helper T cell. Alright, so an activated helper T cell bearing receptors specific for the displayed fragments bind to and activates the B cell. The activated B cell proliferates and differentiates into memory B cells and antibody secreting plasma cells. The secreted antibodies are specific for the same antigen that initiated the response. Okay, contohnya kalau yang APC ini, macrophage ini, dia engulf E. coli for example, right? Yang B cell ni pun mesti bind dengan antigen E. coli itu. Okay, and then antibodies ni yang secreted by the plasma cells are specific to destroy, okay, to destroy the E. coli. Okay. Alright, so that's it for today. So this question we discussed during our meet. Okay, bye.